I've never been on a test ride actually where I could have just left the bike there and asked someone to come and get it. I hated being on it. The weight is... I can't describe it. I've just finished editing the video you're now watching, and I wanted to preface it with the reason I started this channel was when I was looking for stuff on YouTube before I created this, I found it hard to find really honest reviews. Now, you can take my opinion with a pinch of salt or a truckload of salt, but everything I say in all of these videos is unscripted and my thought at that time. So I hope there's a integrity to what I say. Whether you like it or not, that's not for me to decide, but at least it'll be the truth. Well, at least my version of it anyway. Anyway, enjoy the video. So having left the dealership, I went up the motorway and I've ended up in a beautiful spot of the South Gloucestershire countryside next to a cricket green to review a bike that I genuinely hate for so many reasons. But the thing it does well is so remarkably well. Anyway, and in the distance here, we have the 2024 BMWR18 Transcontinental. Approximately 350 kilos of German engineering, which I don't understand. A bike, on the little time I've been riding it, did one thing better than any other bike I've ever ridden. Riding along here today on the motorway to get here, I've never been so comfortable. With that screen providing phenomenal protection, and that seat is a sofa. Amazing. But did the rest of all the riding the worst I've ever ridden. The things I don't like. Taking it off the motorway, this bike doesn't make sense. The gearing is incredibly short. Almost unusably short if you're stuck in traffic and you're going up and down hills. It didn't like that at all. The road noise from the front tyre, at least on this bike, was very, very loud. The front brake is vague. The back brake's there, but I don't know if it works or not. And the vibration. Now, on a Boxer Twin, the old Boxer Twins, you'd see a vibration and you'd feel it in the engine. But in this one, the vibration from the engine is quite smooth. Unless you rev it, then it kicks to the left. But it's all translated through to the forks. Let's have a look. You can see there in the mirror the amount of vibration we've got just at idle. That would get on my tits quite a lot. Let's take a closer look. The colossal 1800 Boxer Twin. It's a heavy, heavy thing. It's a sizable thing, as you can see from here. And the dashboard is a weird mix of retro and technology with a large LCD screen. On the tank, you have your fuel cap, and we have wireless phone charging. Of course we do. Toe and heel gear changing, which I feel is a little bit unnecessary, and footboards, front and rear. And one thing I would find quite challenging is you would never want to get that engine dirty because you will simply never get it clean again. And not to forget the colossal panniers. Gas struts, nicely lined and a fair old size. With the panniers being pretty sizable too. Marshall speakers, obviously. I've never been one for thinking that I'd want to listen to music when I'm riding bikes, but it takes all sorts, I suppose. The switchgear is as you'd expect from any modern BMW. Let's turn it on and see what we see. A nice graphic there of the Boxer engine. Right, let's get this back to the dealership, sum up my thoughts. So, I've just got back from the test ride, back at the dealership. And I have to be mindful that this dealership is lending me these bikes, and they've been very generous with their time, because I'm not buying these bikes, I'm just taking them out for a spin. And with that in mind, I need to place one more caveat onto my opinion on that bike parked over there, the R18 Transcontinental. I am 5'8", I'm 13.5 stone, and I've got a 29-inch inside leg. Remember that. But I have to say, other than that bike being on the motorway in cruise control, unbelievable comfort. But literally everything else, it is the worst fucking bike I've ever been on. I've never been on a test ride actually where I could have just left the bike there and asked someone to come and get it. I hated being on it. The weight is, and I can't describe it. The manoeuvrability is terrible at low speed. The vibration through the forks is terrible. The length of the gears is shit. Now, for BMW to try and take some of the US market from Harley, it makes perfect sense out there. But in the UK, I'm reminded of a BBC Top Gear statement from Jeremy Clarkson many years ago when he was reviewing the BMWR18. And it's something along the lines of, it's designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore.
It's not particularly beautiful, it's not particularly useful. It was built by a world, for a world, that doesn't really exist anymore. Remind you of anything?
And that cruiser world does not exist here anymore. The original mock-up of it, what it was going to look like when it was first launched, it was a lovely looking bike. And that was the sort of tail end of the choppery, bobbery world. But that's not the market anymore. At least I don't see that's the market anymore. I suppose it which circles you move in. But yeah, I fucking hated that bike. Hated it. And it was really weird that I rode originally on the motorway and I was thinking quite positive things. Then I had to move it around a gravel car park, which was a fucking nightmare. And then I was taking it on lanes to where I filmed the bits of the bike, and all the things I thought I might say flew out my mind because I just hated it so much. And then I just wanted to bring it back. Scathing review indeed. So, if you're going to buy a bike like that, buy something else. Buy a K1600, buy an RT, buy a GS, buy a Multistrada, buy a Triumph, buy any other bike apart from that one, unless you are a fucking giant and very strong.